Does talking about your money make you cringe? Are you tired of fighting about finances? Do you want to stop sabotaging your financial happiness? Then you are in the right place. Welcome to Breaking Money Silence, a podcast series aimed at helping all of us talk more openly about money. Your host, Kathleen Kingsbury, is a wealth psychology expert who is doing what she does best, speaking about taboo topics. International speaker, author, and founder of KBK Wealth Connection, Kathleen understands money and our relationship with it. Over the past decade, she has empowered thousands of people to break money silence at home and at work. Now, here is Kathleen.
Hi, this is Kathleen Kingsbury, and I am excited to welcome Ashley Pare, the founder and CEO of Own Your Worth, to the Breaking Money Silence podcast today. Welcome, Ashley.
Hi, Kathleen. Thank you.
You know, Ashley and I met over a cup of coffee over the phone. She reached out to me when my book, Breaking Money Silence, was published. And we had a wonderful conversation, and I loved what she was up to as a leadership coach and a negotiation expert and speaker. And I thought, you know what? I would love to have her as a guest so my listeners could hear and learn from her wisdom. So, Ashley, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, and then we'll delve into your myth.
Yes, great. So thanks again for having me. I'm excited to be here with you. And in general, what I like to share when people ask me that, age-old question, so what is it that you do, is that I help my clients feel confident when they ask for what they want in life and career. And throughout that journey, my corporate background was in HR. I spent many years in tech and pharma and consulting, and a couple of years ago, I started my own company. So I am coaching clients privately and also working with organizations to help put in place women's advancement programs and equal pay practices. So having left HR, I can now freely work on both sides, both with employees and employers, without having to walk that fine line, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and like I said, I love what you're up to, and certainly anybody who follows my work knows that anybody who's helping with gender pay equity is certainly I'm a fan of. And so we're going to delve into your myth, because it's certainly something that earlier in my career I addressed a lot in terms of the money myth, women don't ask. So why did you pick that myth? What motivated you to say, that's the myth I want to bust wide open today?
Yes. So that myth for me has come up not only in my career, but also, my personal journey through gaining my own confidence in how I wanted to self-advocate for myself. And I teach a lot of salary negotiation workshops here in Boston. And, we try to unpack and uncover, right, the causes of the wage gap. And so one thing that I often hear is that women and others will say, well, women just don't ask. So maybe that's why the wage gap exists. And I think, maybe in the past that could have been part of it, but I do know for sure that it can be hard and complicated and even scary when women do want to ask. And so I wanted to bust this myth open because I myself have asked since my very first role out of college, and I also work with a lot of clients who ask. And for me, busting that myth is important because it's really about preparing, and it's really about pausing before you make an ask to really understand what any real or maybe perceived negative consequences might be because you're a woman asking.
Well, what's interesting is it's such a stereotype, and I do think both men and women, occasionally have trouble talking about money, and asking for a raise or asking for or negotiating a salary can be really complicated. But the idea that there's just this blatant statement of women don't ask, in some ways strikes me, and I don't know about you, as kind of a cop-out. Like, if women don't ask, then we don't really have to solve this gender wage gap. What do you think?
Yes. Absolutely. So that's part of my mission and this piece around education is that the wage gap is real, and it's going to take not only women but men and allies and legislation and definitely employers to solve this problem, because it's a cultural bias. Oftentimes, it's we talk about socialization, right, and how women are raised to be nice and avoid conflict. So this is multi-layered, and that's part of, right, the busting the myth is that it's not just about women not asking, because plenty of them do, and they're faced with a lot of negative pushback.
So
or just plain no.
Well, and it's a complex issue, as you say. And so on an individual basis, if someone's listening in and they say, oh, women don't ask, and maybe it's a woman that's listening and says, I do have trouble asking for money or asking for a raise. With any myth or with any money thought, there's always kind of an upside and a downside. So before we get into the kind of obvious negative impact of women not asking, is there any upside? Is there anything that either the individual gets or the corporation gets by buying into this stereotypical thought that women just don't ask for money, so there's not much we can do about it?
What is the positive? I mean, something that some clients have shared with me is that they were able to find a mentor or someone internally who kind of woke them up to this myth and, helped them realize that maybe that's what was holding them back. So I don't know if there's any positive from the company side, because it's really about, right, how can women build thriving careers? How can companies retain top talent? Right? And if someone, is aware of these issues from a company standpoint and they're talking about it, whether they're an HR or they're a manager, it can be really helpful to start that conversation, to think about, right, how pay decisions are made or how career paths are developed. But in terms of it being a positive myth, I don't see much upside to it, because it's really hard, especially if you do ask and the person on the other side of the table, right, is unexpecting. It can be a little bit tricky to manage that type of conversation.
Absolutely. And, I think when I talk about a positive, in some ways I think, okay, if we're uncomfortable talking about money, whether we're in a corporation or whether we're an individual, the short term may be positive, or not even positive, maybe that's the wrong word, but the short-term gain is I don't have to be uncomfortable as an individual female asking, and the company doesn't have to really do anything, change any policies, train anybody, because, women don't ask. So, that's historically kind of what my sense of what is happening. However, Ashley, you're really working at saying, okay, well, that's not true. That's not reality. So tell us, what do you see in your work, maybe through a story or some statistics, as to the downside of this idea that women don't ask for money or don't ask for raises or don't ask for what they need?
Yeah, so I think in my work is that, working with clients and then also working with corporations, is that it's a complicated issue, but what I've seen is that when, I'll use a client story, right? So when a woman wants to be promoted and or receive a raise, right? She's someone who is a go-getter, a game changer. She wants to be at her company. She wants to be in even a leadership position. She really wants to have the respect of her boss and the leaders within the company. And there's so much anxiety, right, from her standpoint around, right, am I good enough, right? How is this going to go? If I do ask, right, what are the negative consequences here that I may face? What will they think about me? So from the client standpoint, there's often a lot of anxiety because they look at negotiation and even, right, money is a taboo topic, as you say. And it's something to be won or lost versus, right, a discussion to have, a way to, I really believe, build trust with your boss and with your employer by having these tough conversations. So it can get tricky if the person you're reporting to or the leadership and the culture of the company, right, doesn't have strong pay programs or policies, and or if there's bias around, right, the way women should be growing their career. So that's what I love to help my clients through, is we prepare for a yes, no, or maybe answer, right, to be able to have this discussion, because it really isn't about the person. It's about the value they're bringing to the organization and, right, looking to be paid as competitively and fairly as possible within the market. I
love the idea of having a negotiation conversation builds trust, We often don't think in those terms, but you're right. I think sometimes you get a lot of credit from a boss or a colleague or you're role modeling to other women that, you know what, you are going to have a mature conversation. And it's not about necessarily winning or losing. It's about engaging in that conversation so we can move towards everybody being paid fairly. Yes.
Yes, I've had several clients, once they make their ask, their bosses have said, thank you for your commitment to excellence. Thank you for preparing in this way. I'm really impressed. Right. So and I've also heard, male managers specifically say that throughout their career, women were woefully unprepared in these discussions. And so I think it really shows that you take yourself seriously and the work that you do when you do prepare, even having your script in front of you, right? Let your boss know, hey, I'm serious about this. And you prepare as you would for any meeting in the company.
So you've mentioned preparation a couple of times. What are maybe 2 or 3 things that people can do to start to prepare for this conversation?
Yeah, so negotiation can be, we've been talking about money, and that is important, but it's really about a seat at the table, more responsibility, right? The opportunity to move into management, or sometimes it's just about getting funding to get a certification or to go to a conference. Or flexibility to work from home. So these conversations can be more than just about money. It's really about creating a path for yourself in your career. And that preparation piece, and one of my favorite questions to talk through with clients is, what is your ideal outcome? So if you could wave your magic wand, how would this conversation go, and what would you receive at the end of it? Because if you start from, what you'd love to have happen, then you can be really clear on your must-haves, and your nice-to-haves. So setting yourself up for success really looks like, what is it that I want? What am I willing to say yes or no to? And what are some things that, I'd be willing to, negotiate, willing to maybe give up if I receive X, Y, or Z? So first, having that clarity on what is it that you really want, because sometimes it doesn't end up being just about the money. Sometimes it's more about, I want to be respected. I want to be included in decision-making processes. I want to have a heads up. So that piece is really important. And also being able to talk about numbers. So having prepared, what you're going to ask for in terms of a salary range, if salary is what you're asking for. So there's a lot of talk around, do you deflect? Do you wait for the company to put out a number? But this is where I truly believe that it's important for you to ask for what you want. So that way you can help the employer hopefully make it happen for you. If they don't know what you want, it's really hard for them to go to bat for you or to give you something that will not disappoint you. So getting really clear on your numbers.
I just want to jump in because getting clear on your numbers, I think, is really key. And, if I was to play devil's advocate, I'd be like, well, how do I figure out that number? Or what if I ask for too big of a number or too little of a number? I imagine there's a lot of anxiety because just even, talking about salary can be such a difficult thing. There's a statistic out there that often partners, so romantic partners, don't even know what their partner makes. So let alone if you don't talk about it with the person that you're hanging out with the most, it must be pretty intimidating to talk about it with a boss or a future employer. So how do you coach people on figuring out what that number is going to be and how to get over that anxiety?
Yeah, it's a big one, and I spend a lot of my work with clients and my program about changing or shifting your relationship with money. So first, it's about understanding what are those fears, what is the maybe shame or embarrassment or anxiety around talking about money. So I'll ask my clients how they spend or save, what was modeled for them in terms from their family or upbringing, and what money means to them. So first, trying to clear any blocks they have to money and realizing that what I believe money is energy. So it's really about giving and receiving. when you're at work, you are giving your contribution, your commitment, your value, your loyalty, your time. And so what you're looking for, right, is a return on your investment. So you're showing up every day, and the paycheck is what you receive for your efforts. So I try to unhook the money fears from, right, this is an exchange, giving and receiving. And of course, there's market research to be done, talking with peers, trying to be as transparent as possible with people in your field, looking at salary.com, payscale.com, asking your HR or finance team, right, what are the approved salary ranges for someone like me in this position? So asking lots of questions around money and how people are paid within your specific organization. When I was in HR, I did my best, right, to be able to answer that question if people asked me. But it really depends on the culture, right, the leadership. Is there transparency around how they pay or not? Because that will tell you a lot about your career progress there.
So what's the ideal outcome? Talking about the numbers, and it sounds like that is really where you help people break money silence, get unhooked. What else do you help them do in preparation for going into that negotiation to have the best possible outcome?
I help them feel confident and tap into their confidence. I help them, right, all of the preparation work really allows them to know that they are, right, if they're performing well, then this is just a discussion. And no matter what the outcome is, it's more information for you to be able to make the next decision for yourself in your career. And so I love being able to, right, have a woman own her worth and my clients feeling, you know what, I'm being bold, I'm being brave, but I'm going after what I want. And no matter what happens, I will be okay. I can pivot. I can still make a decision. So it's really about, asking, it's just getting more information so you can decide what's next for you. So I really help them tap into their value, right? What do they bring? What makes them unique? If they were to leave their company, right, how would that impact the bottom line for that business? Because often, right, we are hard on ourselves and often our worst critics. And so being able to really think through, right, what makes you a great employee helps build that confidence to make the ask.
Now, I have certainly gone through a variety of different shifts and changes in my own career and my own relationship with money and embracing financial success, which can be complicated as women. But it sounds like, really working with someone like you not only helps somebody address the emotional aspects of money, it also helps them understand kind of the process that goes into, in this instance, a negotiation at work. And I know, having had powerful women in my corner and still do, that you really start to feel more confident the more you have these conversations and the more you have somebody cheering you on, somebody like a leadership coach or an expert like yourself. For me, it's a business coach that I've worked with for years, and it really, truly feels good even when they say no. I mean, I'm in the midst of a salary negotiation right now, and I'm feeling confident enough where I could walk away from the negotiation, and that's the best position to be in. Because you do feel good whether you get the deal or not, which is a really pleasant way to go into a negotiation. And ultimately, I think the outcomes are better when you're not as emotionally hooked.
Yes, I completely resonate and agree with that, because what I learned through my negotiations in my career was that I always felt good when I asked for everything I wanted, even if I didn't get it. It's those times that, I didn't ask or I held back or, and then I started a new job, and it's a yucky feeling, right? It's not a great way to go into a new relationship on any level. And so, asking, no matter what the answer is, you can always stand firm to say, you know what, I did my best and I tried and I put it out there.
Time goes so fast on this podcast. I feel like we could talk for days and days, Ashley, and maybe we'll have you back at some time. But I want to make sure that listeners know where to find out more about you. And I know you also have some special stuff coming up. So let people know how to find out more about you. And I'm going to let you share the exciting news.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you can, I love to chat with folks, so feel free to email me directly at ashley@ownyourworth.com, or you can visit my website, which is ownyourworth.com. I also will be coming up in a Good Morning America digital feature. I believe it'll be coming out at the end of September, so we'll definitely keep you and your listeners updated there. And I'm enrolling for my 3-month Own Your Worth Activator program, which is a small group coaching leadership cohort, my signature program. And yeah, I'd love to work with anyone who is motivated to want to feel confident asking for what they want in their life.
Well, I can't wait to see you in Good Morning America, and being, featured is really exciting. Exactly what we need is women like you, all of us gathering together and figuring this out with the support of men who also want to close the pay gap. So thank you so much, Ashley, for your time and for breaking money silence with me today.
Thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Breaking Money Silence, hosted by Kathleen Burns Kingsbury, a wealth psychology expert, author, and founder of KBK Wealth Connection. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app and leave a review. Also, share this episode with your friends and family. It is a great way to get the conversation started. For more money talk tips and information, or to hire Kathleen to speak at your next event, go to www.breakingmoneysilence.com.